Okay, welcome back. So today I'm going to do the recording in a slightly different way. I'm going to try just recording directly on Zoom, and then I'm going to be uploading onto the YouTube channel just to see how this works. So, in a sense, this gives people maybe a little bit of a feel for what it's like to come in and do a Zoom class or a Zoom call with me. So here I am. This is a Zoom room, and let's get straight into it. So. It's been a while since I uploaded a video on this Shakespeare series. It's just been a very busy period with students getting ready for assessments and so on this last couple of months. I've not had much chance to do much else, but have a moment now, so let's pick up where we left off and head over to bit paper. I might need to do a share screen here. Yeah, I'll do a share screen just so you can definitely see this. And we're going to look at Act 2, Scene 2. This is going to be a bit shorter, and we'll just really, just get straight into things. So, in Act 2, Scene 2, Macbeth has actually gone off and committed the murder. He is, as he said, done the deed. So he's killed Duncan, and we don't actually see the murder itself, but we come to the scene in the immediate aftermath. Now, Lady Macbeth, her job was to basically give wine to the guards, get them drunk, and this is where she kicks off some of her discussion here. So, that which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark, peace! It was the owl that shrieked the fatal bellman, which gives the stern good night. He is about it. The doors are open. The surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I'd have drugged their possets. That death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. So, the main thing about here is obviously she's had some wine as well. She feels bold. The other thing to note, we've got the owl shrieking as well. This, this kind of recurring theme of nature being disturbed. By the events. This happens, pretty much throughout the whole play, and the murder is no exception to that. Macbeth in a slight state of confusion here. Who's there? What ho? Alack, I'm afraid they have awakened. It is not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark, I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I'd have done it. So we have this kind of sickening, I don't even know what to describe this as, but it's a sort of claim on behalf of Lady Macbeth. Had he not resembled my father, I'd have killed him myself. So this is a sort of double issue here, and a double kind of resonance. The kind of fatherly aspect of Duncan himself. He does have that quality about him, and maybe as cold and as calculating as Lady Macbeth is, perhaps she did feel that sort of sense. This is a sort of older guy who could well have been her father, and he was just kind of sleeping innocently. And then on the other hand, it's her kind of, again, kind of being manipulative, really saying, I would have done it myself. Those people who say, I would have done this, I would have done that, I could have helped you, I would have helped you, but I just couldn't. And it's quite a manipulative tactic, because it's aiming to basically take credit for something that they didn't actually do. So there's the kind of psychology in play there. She sort of psychologically, she's associating herself with the act. She's kind of taking credit for it. I would have done it myself, of course. But actually, she didn't do anything. The person who did the dirty work was Macbeth, the butcher. He was the guy who was actually doing the dirty work. Macbeth, I've done the deed. Didst thou hear a noise? I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did you not speak? Okay, so again, that reference to nature. Yeah, the notable aspects from this early part of the scene would be this disturbance in nature, maybe a bit of confusion on the part of Macbeth, and also this sort of double issue with Lady Macbeth. On the one hand, does she actually feel something that, Duncan was this innocent sleeping old man, or is she just kind of psychologically trying to take credit for something that she didn't have the nerve to do herself, and she would have never done herself, and she had to manipulate her husband into doing so. That's the kind of double thing going on there with Lady Macbeth. Let's move on to later on in the scene, and we see Macbeth here beginning to unravel somewhat. Whence is that knocking? House it with me when every noise appalls me. What hands are here? Ha, they pluck out mine eyes. With all great Neptune's ocean, wash this blood clean from my hands. No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. Lady Macbeth, my hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. Knocking within, I hear knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber, a little water clears us of this deed. How easy it is then, your constancy has left you unattended. Knocking within, hark, more knocking, get on your nightgown, lest occasion calls us and show us to be watchers, be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. So we see again, at this point, we see Macbeth, he's kind of unraveling really pretty quickly in the aftermath. Every noise appalls me, so he's jumping, he's jittery, every noise is setting him off. With all great Neptune's ocean, wash this blood clean from my hand. And he basically says that even like the great multitudinous seas would become red. So he just feels like this blood on his hands is more than just physical blood. It's some kind of immense, almost overwhelming sense of guilt represented by the blood. So he has a sense of like being, he just can't wash off the guilt or the blood. And you notice multiple questions here. Whence is this knocking? How's it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? Clean from my hand. So when we see repeated questions like this, that's an indication in Shakespeare, and probably in general, is that the character is in a state of confusion, and is in a state of uncertainty and questioning. And I think here he's in a state of uncertainty and confusion. Someone who's in a very calm state, very self-assured, and very, knows what's going on, they're not asking millions of questions like this in a row. He just repeats 4 different questions there. Moving on to Lady Macbeth, this is a famous quotation. My hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. Brilliant turn of phrase. My hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. So what is she doing here? She is literally shaming Macbeth. Why is she shaming him? Because he's having a mental breakdown after murdering his king and the guest in his home. So this is a kind of standard tactic of Lady Macbeth, is using shaming Macbeth himself for weakness, mental instability, inconstancy, all these kinds of things. This is her number one tactic. We've already seen how she uses this earlier on when she's trying to get Macbeth to actually commit the murder. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. This is the tactic she uses. So she just repeats the tactic. A little water clears us of this deed. Wow, a little water. Okay, so Macbeth's talking about how his hands are never going to be clean, and she just says a little water clears us of this deed. So I'm going to get rid of that line. It's no good. So just wash it off. It's no big deal. Just a little water, and we're done. The blood's gone, and we're in the clear. So there's a sort of there's a distance there with her. It's sort of psychopathic, really. You know, just wash this off, a little bit of water. There's this kind of strange distance and a kind of contrast between the triviality of just washing your hands and what they've actually just done, which is murdered the king. More knocking, and she admonishes him here, be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. So she's kind of, you know, getting Macbeth into gear a little bit, or trying to at least, just, you know, saying, look, you know, snap out of it, basically. Her approach is definitely the tough love approach, or, I mean, maybe not tough love, tough something, or other tough motivational strategies, shame, and then just saying basically get your act together. So yeah, we see Lady Macbeth kind of taking over here. She sort of takes the lead at this point as Macbeth has his kind of breakdown, and this is something that we see sort of through the play. Usually when one of the two is strong, the other kind of is slightly weaker. They're not really, there's never really a point where they're both on that kind of same even keel. It's usually when one is strong, the other is weaker, and vice versa. So at this point, Macbeth he's gone through with the murder, if you could call that a kind of strength, in the sense he actually went ahead with it. And Lady Macbeth kind of comes in in the aftermath, when he is sort of having his wobble. So that's a little bit on this sort of dynamic that we see through Macbeth, you know, between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. So yep, that's Act 2, Scene 2, a couple of sections there. The key quotations I would say would be, my hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. That's quite a famous quotation. It's definitely one I would put, you know, in my bank, ready for, you know, the exam. And probably you know, had he not resembled my father as he slept, I'd have done it. Or the owl screaming and the cricket's cry. I've already explained the relevance of those two, and they would also be good quotations to take away into your exam. So with that, I will stop the recording, and I'm going to try and do a few more of these videos and just get us progressing through the play. We've still got quite a bit of work to do, but we'll try and do like slightly shorter, quicker videos if possible.